Well, at one point in time, these two organizations were rivals. They were arch competitors. They were waiting to prove who can gauge TV audience taste better. One was the incumbent TAM, the Television Audience Measurement, and the other, the big challenger, and that's BARC, Broadcast Audience Research Council. When we kicked off this fresh new season of the show, this was the talk of the town, really. We broke it down in great detail for you over several episodes. But look where we are today. We have BARC and TAM sitting on the same side, and what's more, their chiefs are in the studio with me. LV Krishnan of TAM and Partho Dasgupta of BARC. Who would have thought, guys? I mean, what's happening over here? Because the idea, when we were talking about it right at the inception of this, Partho, I want to come to you first, because we were talking about this monolith that TAM was. You know, a monopoly had been created, it needed to be broken, and that was the whole overriding idea, which is how the joint industry body was formed and BARC came about. But now we're seeing both of you come together, another monopoly getting formed.
Go across the world, currency is always one. The whole trading currency, when it comes to any measurement system which is used like a currency for trading, it's always one, right? So to that extent, there's nothing new.
So you're saying this was to be expected?
I mean, it had to come one day or the other.
LV, what's the genesis of this?
Okay, first of all, I don't think there was ever a monopoly, actually. Okay, during the early stages of TAM, there was always an in-TAM service, which got merged together to form one single organization.
Correct.
Then
Again,
immediately after that, there was another organization called AMAP that came in, that fought with TAM all along till 2011. And it's just the fact that somebody didn't want to subscribe to AMAP. They continued to subscribe to TAM. And today, we are in a situation where there are two services happening in. And I guess the logic says the fact that there should be one transaction currency prevailing in. So both the good minds came together and said, let's talk and see how we can work together. And that's exactly what has happened, a combination of the two services to make it an even more bigger panel. So TAM and TAM at that time in early 2000 came together to form a bigger panel.
Right.
And now BARC and TAM is coming together to form a super big panel.
Are we in a sense saying that you cannot have more than one currency? Because choice is always good. We've always been told about that.
Sure.
And there was that possibility existing even while both of you were in business, right?
No, so
even as short a time that it was, it did exist.
You used the word currency, right?
Yes.
In the same market, do you use euro and dollar both?
No, probably not. But that's a different space that you're talking about.
No, it's currency.
You're talking about choice of data, choice of what system
there
you
can be
understand,
different kinds
follow,
of data.
believe in.
See, it's like this, Vikram. There can be different kinds of data. Okay, there are all kinds of data which one can use to map your progress or your response. But this is about trading currency. The word currency means it has to be one. As simple as that. So you can gauge, say for example,
what if I don't use currency? I'm looking at just data, pure data.
The market,
we're talking about transparency of data. Partho, at one point in time, we were talking about various issues that existed with TAM.
Right.
With all due respect, LV, because that was being talked about, not just over here, but across the media.
Yeah.
And today, we're coming on the same table and saying we're in business together.
No, so, see, what we are doing now is we are forming a subsidiary company, which will be held 51-49 by BARC and TAM, with the full control of BARC, management control of BARC, where we are pulling in all the meter assets. Mark my words, all the meter assets. They are the meters, the 22,000 BARC meters which are already on the ground, and 12,000 TAM meters, which we will figure out and redeploy based on BARC methodology. So to that extent, the only thing that is happening new, there are two things that are happening new. One is that we are investing on a bigger sample, like what LV just said, so 22,000 plus 12,000. Second, it will be only one currency. This is you have to look at it very positively. Actually, it's a very, very positive development for the whole industry.
But here's the problem, Partho, because you talked about the meters. We were talking about how these meters aren't exactly what they're meant to be, how they're not placed in the places that they need to be placed. All of those were problematic.
See, BARC has a different sample design, TAM has a different sample design.
Right.
What we are very clearly saying, and we have been transparent about it again, that it will be relayed or redeployed with the BARC sample design. Second thing is, yes, two different technologies. Absolutely right.
Completely different technologies.
Completely different technologies. But
and that was the point of contention as well.
No, the point of contention was that the BARC technology is superior and picks up things better.
Right.
This was what we feel. Okay?
Sure.
And people may have views on that, but that's what we feel. What we are now seeing is this 12,000 meters, which we also now learned that they are all the modern meters, that not modern as in not the absolute old meters are no longer in the system, is what we have learned now. So now we will pick those up and use as another different data sets. So effectively what will happen is technologies will not work together. It will be two different technologies, but it will work, the two different data sets will be fused at a audience data level. Okay, now this happens in many parts of the world. This is not the only country where this is happening. And we have also brought in some consultants from developed markets who are helping us fuse this data.
So this is what I'm finding difficult to understand, that there are two different technologies at work. Now, that creates problems in itself in terms of being able to understand the quality of the data that comes in.
At the end of the day, what is the function of the meter on a day-to-day basis? It's picking the audience viewing behavior. Now, it doesn't matter whether you pick it up through a technology called watermarking or whether you pick it up through a method called signatures. At the end of the day, the job that a meter does is exactly the same, which is picking viewing habits of a common man in the home.
Then why do we say that one technology is superior than the other?
It's not about superiority. There are some differences between both the technology where the ability to do things with watermarking is slightly different from the ability to do things with signature. Both has its merits, both has its demerits too.
I want to ask you, what do you think is more reliable of the two?
See, obviously, we have gone with the big choice of watermarking. I would always say that is more reliable.
So then, at least from BARC's perspective, do you accept that, look, this is not the technology that we started out by endorsing and saying that this might work?
Yes.
And this stance has changed?
No, the stance has not changed. I'm not changing the stance at all.
It doesn't mean the fact that one is superior to the other. Okay. In other words, signature is also as useful as a watermarking technology, because it enables you to understand the fact that if somebody has switched off watermarking from the channel, a signature, audio signature, can help you to still decide which channel is getting watched actually. So in most of the countries, what happens is, like in the US, where Nielsen operates it, they do watermarking plus signature system together.
You're saying it complements?
It complements actually. So it's not either or at all actually.
As soon as data started to come out, I think the first time it came out from BARC was 29th April.
That's right.
And when you started and then we started to compare the data, it looked very alike.
No,
there was hardly a difference. Everyone, the industry said that. People from the broadcast space were all talking about the exact same thing. Perhaps you had a few nuances added to it, but more or less the data was extremely alike.
So that tells you the fact that the technology is not such an issue at all actually, right?
So Vikram, I think I differ on that purely because, see, the bird's eye view would be that. But when you get into the nuances, for example, regional markets, go and see what kind of changes that has happened. It is happening as we speak.
At the end of the day, both the systems are measuring audiences, and the sampling plan from the coverage perspective is similar. It's your urban markets presently that BARC is sampling as much as TAM is sampling. So it should look alike. Why should it be differentiated?
There were fundamental problems over here, LV. That's my point of contention. When BARC and we started talking at the start of the series, we started talking about transparency issues. We started talking about technology issues. We said, look, this is problematic. Someone needs to come in and change it. This is a monopoly getting formed. The industry needs to get together and change things as they are. So I'm sure you heard a lot of that argument as well.
Certainly.
Yes?
But it was all, from my perspective, it was all meaningless argument purely because it was the industry that formed TAM and the industry was moving to form BARC in nature. So it's the same industry.
So what it seems like right now, LV, is that you stand vindicated on this. But I'm not understanding BARC's perspective on it.
Why? What? So okay, let me try and explain. I think your point is about transparency. I think what could be more transparent? When we do something, we go out and tell the world that we are doing something, and which is the logic.
Correct.
So that's transparency.
Right.
Who's doing it? Is the whole industry coming together? Broadcasters, agencies, advertisers, everybody is coming together and doing it. So every logic of it has been explained to every one of them before we took the final call. So it's completely transparent.
What are the chances that someone out there is not going to go to the Competition Commission of India and say, here's a problem that I have? Are you expecting that kind of litigation?
See, we will obviously go through the normal regulatory clearances. That's nothing, there's no brainer on that, right? So which one has to do that? But point is, this is how it works.
Are you expecting trouble on that count?
Globally? No, I am not expecting any trouble. This is how it works globally. See, we follow the ministry guidelines to the T. Right? So ministry has come out for the first time in India about January 2014, some guidelines how it should be run and everything, we follow it to the T. So why should there be a problem? Ultimately, it's Government of India which has to, if they have prescribed something, they have to also defend it.
The idea was to put out a certain number of meters. 50,000 is what I remember. That was the original plan.
Over 4 years.
Over 4 years, that was the plan, that you're going to hit that number.
That's right.
Someone sitting outside looking at this development, this coming together of TAM and BARC is going to say that, look, this is just about fast-tracking that process, trying to get as many meters as possible in place.
See, by March 2016, we are now sitting on 2015. By March 2016, we anyways had a commitment to add another 10,000 more meters.
So is this a way of doing it?
Yeah. It's a faster, easier way
I'm
of
trying to
doing it.
understand what were the overriding reasons why TAM and BARC are together today.
I told you.
Besides what we talked about, is this also a very important
No,
piece?
it also helps. But the main reason is to have a single currency.
Okay, let me add to that what Partho added actually. Okay, the advantages are huge actually for the industry. A is that TAM doesn't have a financial bandwidth to expand actually. Okay, BARC has a financial bandwidth to expand. Okay, TAM had the skilled manpower available, having worked on it for 15 years, readily available to work on that. BARC is still just starting up actually.
Right.
So that same skilled manpower can be better utilized with a bigger, larger financial resource availability itself to work on a project which can actually help the industry in a bigger manner. The systems and processes are pretty well oiled, and therefore there are a lot of learnings from the market already available within the system actually. That all knowledge can be transferred into BARC so that those kind of hurdles that anybody expects to overcome with years can easily be overcome, and it has also the support of the entire industry.
Technology, I understand. Skilled manpower, perhaps I understand. What I'm not understanding is processes, which we had a fundamental issue with.
Yeah, so processes, there will be some changes in processes that we are
What
looking
kind of
at.
changes can
For
we
example,
expect?
I mean, which LV will bear me out. For example, we use census 2011 as the base for the establishment study, right? So we will use that. So TAMS was based on something else, slightly dated. So we have changed all that. So we will use exactly the same sampling design parameters that we have been using now.
Right.
So those things will come in, but these are not processes. Processes, what he meaning is things like what happens on the ground and things like that. So we are learning. I mean, we are not.
That's what we're talking about. What happened on the ground is what people seem to have a problem
So
with.
we have changed the way it gets done. You know that.
Those
right?
kind of changes I'm talking
So
about.
we have
when
changed.
you're adapting an existing system, Partho, that's what I'm trying to
No,
understand.
we are not adapting. What we are trying to do is trying to see what are the things that we can learn, what are the things we can use, and then making it work with the kind of processes or guidelines that we have formed ourselves.
Pardon me for saying this, but this sounds like work in progress. This is not
Of
something
course.
that a system
Of course.
has been developed
Of
where
course.
you understand exactly
No, you're-
what TAM has
No,
by
no,
way
you-
of infrastructure.
You need not pardon yourself. You are absolutely right. We have just signed the understanding. We are now working at how to integrate.
The how-to has not been worked out
No,
yet.
not at all. It is being worked out.
Right. How have the industry, the advertisers, the broadcasters taken this piece of news? I'm sure you are interacting with a lot of them. What are they telling you?
I mean, I've been getting very, very positive feedback, very honestly. They all feel finally, yeah, this is the best thing that could have happened.
Is the lack of choice not bothering them, LV? Wouldn't it bother you if you were on the other side?
Not exactly. Okay, it depends upon what I'm going to use the data for. Okay, if I'm going to largely use the data for transaction purposes, which is what is required, okay, then I think the synergy helps in bringing across a bigger number that allows them to dig deeper into the data and allow them to make use of it in an easy way. On the other hand, most of the clients anyway dig deeper into their programming, marketing, distribution exercises through their own internal creation of data.
Right.
Okay. And that's where that will continue completely in a different level. So it's not the fact that people don't have choice of data. There's a numerous amount of data available, okay, in the marketplace, and they cut and slice data according to their needs itself.
Absolutely. That's been happening since time
Exactly.
immemorial, and that is going to
That will
continue.
go.
But I just have a small issue, and this might be a little personal in nature because I'm looking at business television. When you talk about business television and you're looking at households and how many households are really watching business television, when the contention is that most of it is watched during the day and it would be in offices and institutions. What would you do to correct that? Because obviously that charge would be very apt, wouldn't it?
Right.
You're right. It's primarily the home viewing that we are capturing right now. There are some markets in the world which has gone to the outdoor part as well. So one has to look at it in a different
I
manner.
think this is the right point.
Yeah.
You know, this is the right time for Bloomberg or a business channel to approach BARC and say the fact that, listen, in your integration exercise, can you start looking at a segment which you usually don't tap, which is out of home, which is in institutions, and can we create a small panel, sub-panel, that can actually help us in measuring what's exactly happening. So it may not be individual level viewing, it could be a number of hours viewed per day kind of a statistics actually, and it could be in specific segments of the organizations, industrial organizations actually. So there are opportunities that opens up because there is now an availability with BARC an additional set of meters actually, which can very well be deployed according to how the design should be.
So clearly this is work in progress. There's a lot of trial and error. You're expecting interested parties also to come to you and make those kind of suggestions.
Absolutely.
So obviously this is going to play out over a period of time.
That's
I'm
right.
hoping that going ahead as well, you'll be as open and candid about exactly what this is going to entail. Partho, LV, I'm glad you're here.
We've always been candid.
Absolutely. Thank God for that.